and it only protects mammals. So it protects the 150 million cattle, pigs, sheep, llamas, the mammals. But as I mentioned, we kill about 180 times as many birds as mammals, and the birds have no protection whatsoever. So chickens and turkeys, when their throats are slit open, they're all still conscious. I went to a farmed animal research forum at Oxford University, and it was all farmed animal researchers. So it was people who take 50 pigs and put them on back of a transport truck and drive them for 20 miles to see how many die. And then they'll drive them for 20 hours and see how many die, and they plot it on a... These are not animal welfare people. These are not the faint of heart. They are revolted by the poultry industry in the United States. The people who kill animals for a living in Europe are revolted by the fact that in the United States we turn the milling ampage on the so-called stun bath down so low that it immobilizes chickens and turkeys, but it doesn't render them insensible to pain. You're eating chickens or turkeys. They were all still conscious in this country when their throats were slit open. You're literally eating misery. So as the great philosopher Sir Paul McCartney said, it's staggering when you think about it. Vegetarianism takes care of so many things in one shot. Ecology, famine, cruelty. This guy is another Socrates. He's not the Socrates, but I just like that photo better. When you start to apply Socrates' adage, the original Socrates, not the soccer player, the unexamined life is not worth living. When you start examining your life, and you start examining the decisions that we make day in and day out, most of us, the number one thing we do if we're in college is we go to classes and we study. The number two thing we do is we sleep. The number three thing we do is we eat. And in order to adhere to the Socrates adage, we need to think about the practical ramifications of what it is that we're eating. And once we start thinking about it, we have to come to the conclusion that if we care about the environment, or if we care about global poverty, or if we care about animals, the only diet for us with integrity is a vegan one. Thank you.
Takes care of ecology and famine, and
I'm going in another direction, I'm sorry.
I guess just to give you a basic background, I've been around with whitetail deer, and I didn't hear it mentioned. And when I got really interested when I was 10 years old, and I'm fascinated by their ecology, by the biology behind them, so much so that I'm trying to make a career out of it. Also, where I live in southeastern Pennsylvania, there's a severe overpopulation here. It's proven ecologically. So my question to you is, what method of correcting this problem would you support? One, doing nothing at all. Two, a managed hunting program. Three, government contracted sharpshooters. Four, trap and transfer. Or five, contraception. And before I turn it over to you, the trap and transfer method has to be taken off the board because 40 to 60% of the animals die when being relocated, as well as the fact that you can't take them from an overpopulated location A and bring them to B because it's probably overpopulated as well. And also, contraception has to come off the table because for the last 15 years, Penn State has been responsible for over 50% of the research on contraception in white-tailed deer. And they have no proof whatsoever that it can be used in free-ranging populations. I just want to know what we can do in that situation, and hopefully I can follow up on the ecological assessment of that.
According to wildlife biologists at the ASPCA and the Humane Society of the United States, and I should say, PETA's mission statement is animals are not ours to eat, to wear, to experiment on, or to use for human amusement. And since we were founded in 1980, we've really focused on those areas, the areas where the most animals suffer the most. And we tend to refer hunting questions to either the Humane Society of the United States or the ASPCA. Both of those groups have excellent wildlife biologists and excellent videos that talk about what their wildlife biologists say, which is that populations that are hunted tend to procreate more rapidly. And you see that with human beings. Populations under duress, so whatever the duress, will populate more quickly. You see that the areas of the world that have the highest infant mortality rates also have the highest birth rates. And so their argument is that allowing people to hunt becomes part of the problem rather than part of the solution. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals is willing to look at situations where lethal means are literally the only option. We're not going to take Hunter's word for it. We're not going to take DNR's words for it. But in that scenario, if it really were, if you had to pick a lethal one solution and it had to be lethal, for us it would be sharpshooters.
So not only do you follow with that as far as my problem with it would be is, especially in this economy, money is very tight. And finally, for the first time last year, research proved in southeastern Pennsylvania that managed archery hunting was twice as effective at reducing the population. They kill twice as many deer for half the cost of the $150,000 government instruction.
Yeah, it's a convenient statement. I think oftentimes
it's not convenient. It's fact. And the bottom line, I understand the emotional argument. My only thing is, I care about beyond the deer. I care about our next generation of forest. Our forestry generation is decimated in Pennsylvania because of the deer management that persisted for the last century. And to say that this way is best for the environment, that's just blatantly false.
Okay, when you say it's blatantly false, and I'm not an expert in this issue, I will say that the Humane Society of the United States, they have wildlife biologists who disagree with you. Their only interest is in doing what's best for the deer, and they disagree with you. So I tend to take...
It's not what's best for the deer, though. It's best for the humans, because deer and conflicts will be left. It's best for all the other wildlife, because deer destroy habitat for other species of wildlife. Neotropical migratory birds, small mammals. I'm not going to take all the time.
I did just want to finish what I was saying now. And that is that PETA is willing to look at situations where they are basically choosing the lesser of two evils, and we're happy to do that in situations where that's necessary. And sometimes that means lethal solutions. But we're going to look at disinterested scientists who are actually trying to do what's best for the animals involved. And I pick up hunting magazines on occasion. All of my uncles and aunts hunt, and they have hunting magazines flying around, so I see them at Christmas. And the hunting magazines are always talking about, when they're talking about managing deer populations, they're talking about how to get more deer to shoot every single time.
Yes, you have to go away.
Right there in the back.
Hi, I'm Jared. I've been a vegetarian for a lot of the years for the reasons that you talked about tonight. But my question is, as a strategy outlook, is the boycott of meat, are enough people coming along with it? Has it gained to strong enough of a movement that we're seeing it actually change or take any effect on how much meat is being consumed otherwise due to population?
Yeah, I mean, it's slow but sure, but we're certainly seeing more and more people adopting a vegetarian diet, and consequently more and more alternatives available kind of everywhere. I mean, I'm deeply encouraged by the number of people who are adopting a vegetarian diet, the number of people who are expressing more compassion for animals, all across the spectrum. And certainly the college campaign and the college campuses that, 20 years ago when I adopted a vegan diet, 22 years ago, you wouldn't be able to get vegan options in Penn State's cafeteria, and now you can. And that's not because Penn State's cafeteria has gone all compassionate, it's because there's the demand.